Admiral Vextar stood tall on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet burn below. The orbital bombardment had lasted 3 days. Every human city was now glass and ash. Every settlement had been wiped clean from the surface of the world they called Earth. "Sir, the final sweep is complete," reported Lieutenant Craven, his scaled fingers dancing across the control panel. "No life signs detected anywhere on the planet's surface. The human species has been eliminated." Vextar's reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his people. After 50 years of human expansion into hegemony space, the threat was finally over. No more aggressive colonies appearing on the edge of civilized systems. No more primitive warships challenging superior alien technology. No more humans. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of ship systems. Around them, the rest of the hegemony fleet maintained position over the dead world. Hundreds of ships from dozens of different species, all united in their relief that the human problem had been solved forever. "Open a channel to Hegemony Command," Vextar ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the ornate chamber where the Galactic Council met. Representatives from over 100 worlds sat in their specialized seats, each designed for their particular biology. "Honored Council," Vextar began, his voice carrying the formal tone required for such announcements. "The human homeworld has been cleansed. The species known as Homo sapiens is now extinct. Their aggressive expansion has been permanently stopped." Wave of satisfied sounds echoed through the council chamber, clicking, humming, and various other noises that indicated approval across the many species present. The Zalani counselor, Vextar's own species representative, stood to address the assembly. "After 3 generations of human expansion into our territory, threatening our established order, peace has been restored to this sector," the counselor announced. "The primitive mammals who dared challenge our authority are no more." But Vextar's sensors could not see everything. Deep beneath the asteroid belt, mining colonies continued their work in silence, their crews watching the destruction of their homeworld through tears of rage. Generation ships that had left Earth decades ago maintained radio silence as they drifted between the stars, their passengers learning of humanity's supposed doom through intercepted hegemony transmissions. On the dark side of Europa, Dr. Sarah Chen worked frantically in an underground laboratory, downloading every piece of human knowledge onto quantum storage drives. The secret research facility had been built to study alien technology captured from hegemony scouts. Now it served as humanity's hidden archive. "How many ships got away?" asked Commander Marcus Webb, the former merchant marine captain who now led the remnants of Earth's defense fleet. His voice was steady, but his hands shook as he watched the orbital bombardment continue on the main screen. 17 deep space. "Vessels confirmed clear of the system," reported Lieutenant Elena Vasquez from her position at the communications console. "Unknown number of mining platforms and research stations still operating under radio silence in the outer system." Webb nodded grimly. The evacuation plan had been crude and desperate, but it had saved some. Not nearly enough, but some. The hegemony had expected humanity to stand and fight for their homeworld like most species did. Instead, the human leadership had made the hardest choice possible: sacrifice Earth to save the species. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Mining Platform 7, Vasquez reported. "They're requesting permission to begin salvage operations once the hegemony fleet moves on." "Denied," Webb replied immediately. "No one moves until we're certain they're gone. We stay dark, and we stay hidden. Let them think they've won." 3 days later, the hegemony fleet began departing the Sol system. Their mission was complete, their victory absolute. Admiral Vextar filed his final report as his ship entered hyperspace, bound for the capital world of Nexus Prime, where he would receive honors for ending the human threat. Behind them, they left a solar system that appeared completely dead. The third planet from the sun was a burned husk. The space lanes were empty. No communications, no ship movements, no signs of civilization anywhere. But in the darkness between worlds, something stirred. Commander Webb stood in the cargo bay of his ship, the Resilience, looking at the dozen hegemony prisoners they had captured during the evacuation. The aliens had been part of a scout team that got too close to one of the fleeing human vessels. Now they sat in containment cells, their scaled faces showing confusion and fear. "They think we're all dead," Webb said to Dr. Chen, who stood beside him studying the aliens with scientific interest. "That gives us an advantage they can't possibly understand." "How long do you think we have before they discover the truth?" Chen asked. "Years, maybe decades if we're careful," Webb replied. "They're not looking for us anymore. As far as the galaxy knows, humanity is extinct. We need to use that time wisely." Dr. Chen activated her tablet and showed Webb the preliminary analysis of captured hegemony technology. "Their ships are more advanced than ours, but not by as much as we thought. Their main advantage was numbers and coordination across multiple species. Now that we know how their systems work, we can build better ones," Webb finished. "The question is whether we can do it fast enough and quietly enough to matter." In the depths of space, the mining platforms had begun their grim work. Not mining asteroids for rare metals anymore, but salvaging the wreckage of human civilization. Every piece of technology, every weapon, every ship fragment was carefully collected and studied. The survivors worked with the desperate efficiency of people who knew they might be the last of their kind. Engineers stripped down alien scout ships and rebuilt them with human modifications. Scientists analyzed hegemony computer systems and learned to hack their networks. Soldiers studied alien combat footage and developed new tactics. 6 months. After the destruction of Earth, the first modified human vessel was ready for testing. Built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the Kuiper Belt, the ship looked like a standard hegemony scout from the outside. But inside, human engineering had improved every system. "Stealth field is holding," reported the test pilot over the comm system. "They won't see us coming unless they're looking really hard." Webb watched from the command center carved into the asteroid's core. Around him, dozens of surviving human military personnel monitored the test flight. This was their proof of concept. If they could make one invisible ship, they could make 100. If they could make 100, they could start hitting back. "Begin Phase 2 testing," Webb ordered. "Let's see how well our weapons work against their shields." The test ship fired a modified plasma cannon at a captured hegemony drone. The alien shield flared and collapsed in seconds. Human weapons, improved with captured alien technology, cut through hegemony defenses like they were made of paper. "Doctor," Chen smiled for the first time since Earth's destruction. "They gave us everything we needed to kill them," she said quietly. "They just don't know it yet." As the months passed, more survivors made contact. A generation ship carrying 50,000 colonists changed course and headed for the rendezvous point in the outer system. A deep space research station transmitted its location after confirming the identity codes. Mining platforms reported their populations and resources. The total count was heartbreaking. Fewer than 200,000 humans remained alive in the entire galaxy. But it was enough. It had to be enough. Webb established a council of survivors to coordinate their efforts. Engineers worked on ship construction. Scientists focused on understanding alien technology. Military planners developed strategies for asymmetrical warfare against a vastly superior enemy. The plan that emerged was simple in concept, but complex in execution. They would remain hidden while building their strength. They would learn everything possible about hegemony technology and tactics. And when they were ready, they would strike back with everything they had. "We're not trying to rebuild the old Earth," Webb explained to the assembled council leaders during one of their weekly meetings. "We're building something new, something harder, something that can survive in a galaxy that wants us dead." The Mall. Work continued in secret bases scattered throughout the outer solar system. Humans learned to think like their enemies, to understand the complex politics of the hegemony alliance. They discovered which species were truly committed to human extinction and which had simply followed the majority. Most importantly, they learned patience. The survivors of humanity settled in for a long war, one that might take generations to win. They had time to plan, time to prepare, and time to make sure their revenge would be thorough when it finally came. Admiral Vextar received his promotion and his medal for eliminating the human threat. He retired to a comfortable position in the hegemony bureaucracy. confident that his place in history was secure as the officer who ended humanity's aggressive expansion. He never imagined that somewhere in the darkness between stars, human eyes watched every hegemony ship movement. Human computers analyzed every alien communication. Human weapons were being built specifically to kill his people as efficiently as possible. The galaxy celebrated the end of the human threat. Trade routes reopened. Colonies expanded without fear of human interference. The hegemony entered a new golden age of prosperity and cooperation. But in the cold depths of space, humanity waited, and planned and prepared for the day when they would remind the galaxy that reports of their extinction had been greatly exaggerated. The false victory was complete. The real war was about to begin. 3 years had passed since the hegemony declared humanity extinct. Admiral Vextar sat in his comfortable office on Nexus Prime, reviewing reports from across the galaxy. Trade was booming. New colonies were being established. Peace reigned throughout hegemony space. So why did he feel uneasy? "Sir, we have another report from the Outer Rim sectors," his aide, Lieutenant Craven, said as he entered the office. "The mining station at Kepler 442 has gone silent." Vextar looked up from his desk. "Equipment failure?" "Unknown, sir. They stopped responding to communications 3 days ago. A patrol ship found the station intact but completely abandoned. No signs of struggle, no distress signals. The crew just disappeared. It was the 15th such incident in the past 6 months. Mining operations, research stations, and cargo convoys simply vanishing without explanation. The pattern was becoming impossible to ignore, but no one could explain what was happening. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Vindication, watching the hegemony mining station through her ship's sensors. The alien facility hung motionless in space, its lights dark and its communications array silent. Her crew had done excellent work. "All personnel evacuated to the life pods as planned?" she asked her first officer. "Yes, Captain. No casualties. The crew thinks their life support systems failed and they had to abandon ship. They'll be picked up by their own people in a few hours." Chen nodded with satisfaction. It was important that they not kill unnecessarily. Dead aliens would draw attention and investigation. Missing facilities could be explained as equipment failures or accidents. The hegemony had grown complacent during their 3 years of peace. The Vindication was one of 12 ships in Chen's squadron, all built in the secret shipyards of the outer solar system. From the outside, they looked like standard hegemony, patrol vessels. Inside, they were something else entirely, human engineering combined with captured alien technology to create ships that could go anywhere in hegemony space without being questioned. "Set course for the rendezvous point," Chen ordered. "We have a delivery to make." The ship they had just captured would join the growing fleet of vessels being reverse-engineered by human scientists. Every system was studied, every component analyzed and improved. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had something more valuable: the desperate creativity of a species fighting for survival. Dr. Elena Vasquez worked in the research laboratory built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the Kuiper Belt. Around her, teams of human scientists dissected alien technology with the focused intensity of people who knew their species' future depended on understanding every detail. "The quantum computer core is fascinating," she said to her colleague, Dr. James Park. "Their processing power is incredible, but the security protocols are actually quite primitive. They rely on complexity rather than true encryption." Park looked up from the alien weapon he was studying. "Which means we can hack their systems once we understand the base code structure." "Better than that," Vasquez replied with a smile. "We can make their own computers work against them. Imagine a virus that turns their weapons on each other, or makes their navigation systems send them into stars." The research facility was one of dozens scattered throughout the outer solar system. Each base specialized in different aspects of alien technology: weapons, computers, engines, life support systems. Human engineers learned to not just copy alien designs, but improve upon them. Commander Marcus Webb reviewed the latest intelligence reports in his command center. The hidden base was built into the core of a large asteroid, invisible to casual scans and protected by layers of defensive systems. From here, he coordinated humanity's secret war against the hegemony. Our sleeper agents report increased patrols. In the Vega sector, reported his intelligence chief. They're starting to notice the pattern of disappearances. Webb studied the star map on his main screen. Red dots marked hegemony installations that had been captured or neutralized. Blue dots showed human operations. The pattern was carefully planned to look random, but it was actually a methodical dismantling of the alien empire's outer defenses. We need to be more careful, Webb decided. Reduce operations in that sector for the next few months. Let them think whatever was happening has stopped. The beauty of their strategy was its patience. Unlike the old human military doctrine of direct confrontation, the survivors had learned to think in decades rather than years. They could afford to wait, to let the aliens relax their guard before striking again. On the bridge of a hegemony patrol ship, Lieutenant Commander Zextal reviewed his orders with growing concern. His vessel was one of many being deployed to investigate the mysterious disappearances in the outer sectors. The official explanation was equipment failures and pirate activity, but experienced officers weren't convinced. Sir, we're approaching the last known position of transport vessel 7749, reported his navigation officer. No debris field detected, no signs of battle damage. Zextal studied his sensors carefully. The transport had been carrying refined metals from a mining operation to the core worlds. 3 days ago, it had simply vanished from all tracking systems. Search teams had found nothing. Begin a detailed scan of the area, he ordered. Look for anything unusual. What he didn't know was that the transport was now in human hands, its cargo being used to build weapons designed specifically to kill his people. The ship itself was being studied in a secret facility, its crew safely deposited on a nearby world with false memories of engine failure and emergency evacuation. Dr. Chen stood in the workshop where human engineers were modifying captured alien weapons. The plasma rifles had been impressive when first encountered, but human improvements made them devastating. Better focusing crystals increased their power. Modified power cells extended their operation time. New targeting systems improved their accuracy. The key insight, she explained to the team of weapons specialists, is that they designed these for their own physiology. Their grip strength, their reaction times, their visual spectrum. When we modify them for human use, we can push the systems far beyond their original specifications. The workshop was one of many scattered throughout the hidden human bases. Engineers worked around the clock to not just understand alien technology, but to make it better. Every captured ship became a prototype for improved human vessels. Every alien weapon became the basis for superior human arms. Captain Chen received her next assignment through encrypted quantum transmission. Another hegemony facility had been marked for capture, this time a research station studying exotic matter. The intelligence was perfect. Crew schedules, security protocols, emergency procedures, all provided by human agents who had infiltrated the alien empire. The infiltration program had been one of their greatest successes. Humans with minor surgical modifications could pass for several alien species in casual encounters. A change in skin texture here, some prosthetic features there, and a human could walk through most hegemony facilities without being detected. These agents provided the intelligence that made the capture operations possible. They also planted the subtle computer viruses that caused equipment failures and navigation errors throughout hegemony space. The aliens never suspected that their own systems were being turned against them. Admiral Vextar called an emergency meeting of sector commanders. The mysterious disappearances had reached a level that could no longer be ignored. 37 installations had gone silent in the past year. Hundreds of ships had vanished without trace. The outer territories were becoming a danger zone. Gentlemen, he began, addressing the assembled officers through holographic projection, we have a problem that requires immediate attention. Someone or something is operating against us in the outer sectors. Pirates? Suggested one commander. Equipment failures, offered another. Vextar shook his head. The pattern is too consistent, too widespread. This is either an unknown alien species or... He paused, unwilling to voice the thought that had been growing in his mind. "Sir?" prompted his aide. "Or we didn't kill all the humans after all." The suggestion sent a ripple of concern through the assembled commanders. The official records showed complete human extinction. Every city destroyed, every ship accounted for. But the evidence was mounting that something was operating against them with human-level intelligence and planning. In the depths of space, Commander Webb reviewed the same intelligence reports the hegemony commanders were studying. His people had been careful, but not perfect. Patterns were emerging that might eventually point back to human involvement. "It's time for Phase 2, he decided. "We've learned what we need to know. We've captured enough technology. Now we start building for real war." The hidden shipyards had grown from crude fabrication facilities into massive construction complexes. Human engineers had solved the problems of zero-gravity manufacturing and automated assembly. Ships were being built faster than the aliens could have imagined possible. But these weren't copies of alien designs. They were something new, vessels that combined the best of human and alien technology, optimized for the kind of war humanity needed to fight. Fast, stealthy, and carrying weapons designed to exploit every weakness the research teams had discovered in hegemony defenses. Dr. Vasquez stood before the quantum computer array that had become the heart of human intelligence operations. The system could hack into any hegemony network, monitor their communications, and predict their movements. It was powered by captured alien technology but programmed with human ingenuity. "We know more about their military capabilities than they do," she reported to the command staff. "Every ship design, every weapon specification, every tactical doctrine, they've been fighting the same way for centuries because they never faced a real challenge." "Until now," Webb replied grimly. The ghosts in the machine were preparing to become something much more dangerous. The time for hiding was almost over. Soon the galaxy would learn that humanity's death had been greatly exaggerated, and their capacity for vengeance had been underestimated. The aliens had taught humans a valuable lesson about survival in a hostile galaxy. Now, humanity was ready to return the favor with interest. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, where no hegemony patrol would ever think to look, the greatest construction project in human history neared completion. The shipyard complex known as New Geneva stretched across 12 connected asteroids, each one hollowed out and converted into specialized manufacturing facilities. Admiral Marcus Webb, formerly a merchant marine captain, now commanded humanity's secret fleet from the primary command asteroid. He stood in the observation deck, watching through reinforced transparent aluminum as the latest ship slid out of the construction bay. The vessel was massive, nearly 2 kilometers long, and completely invisible to hegemony sensors. "The Retribution is ready for final systems testing," reported Chief Engineer Maria Santos. The woman had once designed civilian transport ships. Now she built weapons of war that would have been unimaginable before the aliens tried to wipe out humanity. Webb nodded, studying the dreadnought through the viewports. It looked nothing like the ships humanity had built before the war. The design incorporated lessons learned from captured hegemony vessels, but pushed every system far beyond alien specifications. Human engineering had always excelled at making things work better, faster, and more efficiently than originally designed. "How many are operational?" Webb asked. 12 Retribution-class dreadnoughts, 43 Vengeance-class cruisers, and over 200 smaller vessels, Santos replied. "We're producing new ships faster than we can train crews for them." That was the bottleneck humanity faced. They had the technology, the materials, and the manufacturing capacity. What they lacked was people. The total human population in the galaxy was barely 200,000, and they needed every person for multiple critical roles. Dr. Sarah Chen walked through the weapons testing facility on Asteroid 7, observing the latest developments in human military technology. The research team had made breakthrough after breakthrough, each one building on captured alien science but improving it with human innovation. "Show me the antimatter warheads," she requested. The weapons chief, formerly a mining explosives expert, led her to the secure storage area. We've cracked the alien containment technology and improved it by 40%. Each warhead can crack a moon or vaporize a space station. The Retribution-class ships carry 24 of them. Chen studied the sleek weapons with professional interest. Before the war, humanity had never successfully weaponized antimatter. The aliens had done it centuries ago, but their containment systems were overly complex and inefficient. Human engineers had simplified the design while making it more powerful. And the delivery systems? Quantum torpedoes with adaptive navigation, the chief explained. They can change course mid-flight, penetrate shields, and even phase through armor before detonating inside the target. The aliens have nothing that can stop them. In another section of the asteroid complex, Dr. Elena Vasquez worked on the Crown, jewel of human technological achievement, the gravity manipulation device. The project had started as an attempt to understand alien artificial gravity systems, but human scientists had pushed the concept far beyond its original purpose. Mathematics are complex, but the principle is simple, she explained to the assembled engineering team. Instead of creating small gravity fields for artificial gravity on ships, we can manipulate the gravitational force of entire star systems. The implications were staggering. A single ship equipped with the gravity manipulator could turn a planet's own mass against its inhabitants or redirect asteroids to bombard enemy worlds. It was a weapon of such devastating potential that even its creators were reluctant to test it. "How long until the prototype is ready?" asked Dr. James Park, the project's theoretical physicist. "The Humanities Wrath will be equipped with the first working unit within 6 months," Vasquez replied. "But I strongly recommend we don't use it unless we have no other choice. This weapon could destabilize entire solar systems." Captain Elena Rodriguez commanded one of the new Vengeance-class cruisers on a shakedown cruise through the outer solar system. The ship was a work of art, combining alien technology with human ingenuity to create something that surpassed anything either species had built alone. "Stealth systems are functioning perfectly," reported her tactical officer. "We could fly through the heart of the hegemony fleet and they wouldn't detect us until we opened fire." The stealth technology was one of their greatest achievements. By studying alien sensor systems, human engineers had developed ships that were effectively invisible to hegemony detection methods. The hulls absorbed scanner beams instead of reflecting them, and the power systems generated no detectable emissions. "Test the weapon systems," Rodriguez ordered. The ship's primary armament consisted of plasma cannons that had been improved far beyond their original alien design. Human modifications had increased their power output by 300% while reducing their energy consumption. The targeting systems incorporated human pattern recognition software that could predict enemy movements with uncanny accuracy. In the intelligence center of the command asteroid, analysts studied reports from across hegemony space. Human agents had infiltrated dozens of alien worlds, providing detailed information about military capabilities, political structures, and economic vulnerabilities. "The Zelani homeworld has a population of 12 billion, reported Intelligence Chief David Kim. Their orbital defenses consist of 47 weapon platforms, but our analysis shows critical weaknesses in their power distribution network." The intelligence network had grown far beyond what anyone had thought possible. Humans with surgical modifications could pass for members of several alien species, allowing them to work within hegemony organizations and gather information from the inside. "What about their fleet strength?" asked Admiral Webb during the daily briefing. 734 capital ships across all species, but they're scattered throughout the galaxy maintaining order, Kim replied. "Our analysis suggests they could only concentrate about 200 ships for a major engagement, and that would take them weeks to organize." Webb studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. The aliens had grown complacent during their years of peace. Their fleets were designed for policing actions and territorial disputes, not for fighting a desperate enemy with nothing to lose. In the training facilities, the next generation of human warriors learned to fight in ways their ancestors never could have imagined. Virtual reality systems allowed them to practice combat in every possible environment, from the vacuum of space to the crushing depths of gas giant atmospheres. Colonel James Harrison, formerly a Special Forces officer, supervised the training programs. "The key advantage we have is adaptability," he explained to the new recruits. The aliens have been fighting the same way for centuries. They're predictable. We need to be anything but predictable. The training covered everything from ship-to-ship combat to planetary assault operations. Humans learned to use captured alien equipment better than its original creators, and to exploit weaknesses that had never been tested in real combat. Dr. Santos stood in the final assembly bay, watching as the last components were installed in the experimental vessel Humanity's Wrath. The ship was larger than any dreadnought, its hull incorporating every advancement human science had achieved since the fall of Earth. The gravity manipulator is installed and calibrated, she reported to Admiral Webb. The quantum tunneling drive will allow it to appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. The defensive systems can withstand direct bombardment from an entire fleet. Webb studied the technical specifications on his tablet. The ship was a marvel of engineering, but also a terror weapon that could end civilizations. The decision to build it had not been made lightly. "What's our production capacity for building more ships like this?" he asked. "We could build one every 6 months, but the resource requirements are enormous," Santos replied. "Each ship requires the processed materials from an entire asteroid belt." The hidden arsenal continued to grow as human determination transformed grief into purpose. Every lost city, every destroyed colony, every dead friend and family member became motivation to build something better and deadlier than what the aliens had used against them. In the communications center, technicians monitored hegemony networks across the galaxy. The quantum computers could break any alien encryption in minutes, providing real-time intelligence about enemy movements and intentions. "Admiral Vextar is calling another security meeting," reported the communications chief. "They're starting to suspect that the missing ships and stations might not be accidents." Webb smiled grimly. "Let them suspect. By the time they figure out what's really happening, it will be too late to stop it." The psychological operations team had been working for months to plant false information in hegemony networks. Reports of new pirate groups, equipment failures, and territorial disputes between alien species. Anything to keep the aliens focused on the wrong threats while humanity prepared for the real war. Dr. Chen reviewed the final test results for the new generation of combat suits. The powered armor incorporated alien materials, science with human ergonomic design, creating protection that was lighter and stronger than anything the hegemony possessed. The neural interface allows direct mental control of weapons and sensors, she explained to the testing team. "A human soldier in this armor can outfight 10 alien warriors, and our manufacturing capacity means we can equip every person in our fleet." The research and development facilities never stopped working. Every day brought new innovations, new improvements, new ways to turn alien technology against its creators. Human creativity, unleashed by desperation and focused by purpose, achieved miracles that seemed impossible just years before. In the Strategic Planning Center, military analysts developed the master plan for humanity's return to the galaxy. Operation Retribution would begin with simultaneous strikes against key hegemony installations, designed to cripple their ability to coordinate a response. Phase 1 targets their command and control networks, explained General Patricia Morrison, formerly a logistics coordinator who had become one of humanity's premier military strategists. "We hit communication relays, fleet coordination centers, and intelligence facilities across 17 sectors." Phase 2, Webb asked, "Economic warfare. We destroy their manufacturing capacity, disrupt their supply lines, and create chaos in their financial systems. The hegemony is held together by prosperity and trade. Take that away and the alliance starts to fracture." "And Phase 3? Morrison's expression hardened. "Total war. We systematically eliminate every species that participated in the attempted genocide of humanity. No mercy, no prisoners, no negotiation. They wanted to wipe us out. Now they get to experience extinction firsthand." The hidden arsenal represented more than just ships and weapons. It was proof that humanity could not be destroyed by brute force or overwhelming numbers. Every innovation, every improvement, every breakthrough was a declaration that the species would not go quietly into the night. Admiral Webb stood on the observation deck watching as another Retribution-class dreadnought emerged from the construction facility. Soon the galaxy would learn what humans could accomplish when their survival was threatened. The aliens had tried to end humanity's story. Instead, they had simply forced it to begin a new chapter, one written in fire and fury across the stars. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship Dominion, reviewing reports from across hegemony space. The orbital platforms around Nexus Prime sparkled like jewels in the void. Their weapon arrays pointed outward to protect the capital, world of the galaxy's greatest empire. Nothing could threaten them here in the heart of their power. "Sir, we're receiving the monthly security briefings from all sectors," reported his communications officer. "The disappearances in the outer territories have decreased significantly. Command believes the pirate problem has been resolved." Vextar nodded absently, but the unease that had plagued him for months refused to go away. His reptilian features were set in a permanent frown as he studied the tactical displays. Something was wrong, but he couldn't identify what. "Admiral, incoming quantum tunnel signatures detected," announced the sensor operator. "Multiple contacts bearing, sir, they're everywhere." Space itself seemed to tear open around Nexus Prime as human warships emerged from quantum tunnels at precisely calculated positions. The stealth systems that had kept them hidden for years were finally deactivated, revealing the true scope of humanity's secret fleet. The Retribution materialized directly above the planet's north pole, its massive bulk casting a shadow across the capital city below. Around it, 11 sister ships took positions to form a perfect sphere around the world. Each dreadnought was nearly 2 kilometers long and bristling with weapons that hegemony science had never imagined possible. "Impossible," Vextar whispered, his translator struggling to keep pace with his shock and disbelief. "The humans are extinct. We wiped them out. We saw their world burn." Commander Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching as hegemony defense platforms frantically tried to target the human fleet. Their systems couldn't get weapon locks on ships designed to be invisible to their sensors. "Open communications on all frequencies," she ordered. "It's time they learned. We never forgot what they did to Earth." Her voice crackled across every communication system in the Nexus Prime system, carried by quantum transmitters that overrode all security protocols. Every ship, every station, every facility received the same message simultaneously. "This is Commander Elena Vasquez of the Human Liberation Fleet. You believed you had murdered every last member of our species. You celebrated our extinction. You divided our worlds among yourselves like we never existed." Her voice was calm, professional, terrifyingly controlled. "You were wrong. Death sends its regards." The human attack began with surgical precision that took the hegemony completely by surprise. Antimatter torpedoes launched from the dreadnoughts, their quantum guidance system steering them past defensive fire and through shield barriers as if they didn't exist. The first orbital platform exploded in a flash of annihilated matter that briefly outshone the system's star. The second followed moments later. Within the first minute of combat, half of Nexus Prime's orbital defenses had been reduced to expanding clouds of superheated plasma. Admiral Vextar watched in horror as his flagship's sensors registered the impossible. "How are their weapons? Penetrating our shields?" "Unknown, sir," replied his tactical officer. "Their torpedo guidance systems are adapting to our defensive frequencies in real time. It's like they know exactly how our technology works." They did know. Every system, every defensive protocol, every weapon specification had been studied and analyzed during years of careful intelligence gathering. Human engineers had designed their weapons specifically to exploit hegemony vulnerabilities. "Captain," Sarah Chen commanded the stealth frigate Vindication as it moved through the hegemony fleet like a ghost. The enemy ships couldn't detect her vessel until her weapons were already firing, and by then it was too late. "Target the command cruiser's bridge," she ordered. "Plasma cannon, full power." The beam that lanced out from her ship was invisible until it struck the alien vessel's command section. The bridge vaporized instantly, taking Admiral Vexatar's second-in-command with it. Around the system, similar strikes were decapitating the hegemony's command structure with ruthless efficiency. On the surface of Nexus Prime, billions of alien citizens watched in terror as human warships dominated the space above their world. The orbital platforms that had protected them for centuries were burning wreckage. Their mighty fleet was being systematically destroyed by ships that seemed to appear and disappear at will. The hegemony's numerical advantage meant nothing when their sensors couldn't track the enemy, and their weapons couldn't penetrate human shields. Years of peace had made them complacent. They had forgotten that war was about more than having the most ships. Dr. James Park monitored the battle from the command center in the Kuiper Belt. Quantum communication links allowed him to coordinate the attack across multiple star systems simultaneously. This wasn't just a strike at Nexus Prime. It was a coordinated assault on the heart of hegemony power. Phase 1 is proceeding perfectly, he reported to Admiral Webb. All primary targets are under attack. The aliens are completely unprepared for our capabilities. Webb studied the tactical displays showing human fleets emerging from quantum tunnels across 17 different star systems. Years of planning were finally being put into action. The hegemony was about to learn what happened when you tried to exterminate humanity. Admiral Vextar's flagship shuddered as another antimatter torpedo penetrated its shields and detonated against the hull. The bridge filled with smoke and the acrid smell of burning electronics. Half his crew was dead or wounded, and his ship was dying around him. "Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from the human fleet," reported his communications officer, blood running down the side of his head from a shattered console. "Never," Vextar snarled. "We are the hegemony. We do not surrender to primitive mammals." But even as he spoke, he could see the tactical display showing the complete destruction of his forces. In 6 hours of combat, the humans had annihilated the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, without losing a single ship of their own. Commander Vasquez received Admiral Vextar's final transmission as his flagship broke apart under concentrated fire from 3 human dreadnoughts. The alien's last words were a curse against humanity, spoken in the ancient language of his people. "Target destroyed," reported her weapons officer. "Good," Vasquez replied coldly. "He was there when they burned Earth. I wanted to make sure he saw this coming." The battle for Nexus Prime was over in 8 hours. The most heavily defended system in hegemony space had fallen to human forces without inflicting a single casualty on their attackers. It was a demonstration of technological and tactical superiority that sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. But the humans weren't finished. As reports of the Nexus Prime attack spread through hegemony communication networks, other human fleets were striking at targets across their territory. Military bases, industrial centers, and government facilities were hit simultaneously by forces that seemed to appear from nowhere. On the bridge of the experimental vessel Humanity's Wrath, Admiral Webb watched as the gravity manipulation weapon was prepared for its first combat test. The target was a hegemony fortress built into an asteroid, supposedly impregnable behind layers of armor and shielding. "Gravity field generator is online," reported the weapons officer. "Target locked." "Fire," Webb ordered. The weapon didn't produce any visible beam or projectile. Instead, it manipulated the fundamental forces that held matter together. The asteroid fortress simply collapsed in on itself. Its own mass compressed into a sphere barely a meter across before exploding outward in a burst of exotic radiation. "My God," whispered the tactical officer. "We just turned a moon-sized asteroid into a black hole and then made it explode." Webb studied the readings with grim satisfaction. The gravity manipulator worked exactly as designed. They now had a weapon that could destroy entire planets if necessary. He hoped it wouldn't come to that, but the option was available. Across the galaxy, hegemony forces tried desperately to respond to the human attacks. But their communication networks were being jammed by quantum interference. Their computer systems were being infected with viruses designed by human programmers, and their ships were being destroyed by weapons they had never seen before. The few hegemony vessels that managed to engage human forces found themselves hopelessly outmatched. Human ships were faster, more maneuverable, and armed with weapons that could punch through any defense. Worse, the humans seemed to know exactly where every hegemony ship would be before it arrived. Dr. Elena Rodriguez coordinated the cyber warfare assault from her facility in the asteroid belt. Human quantum computers had completely penetrated hegemony networks, giving them access to every military database and communication system. "We're tracking their fleet movements in real time," she reported. "Any ship that tries to respond to our attacks is being intercepted by our forces before it can reach the battle zone." The strategic advantage was overwhelming. The humans had spent years learning everything about their enemies while remaining completely hidden themselves. Now that knowledge was being turned into victory after victory across the galaxy. On the hegemony capital world of Nexus Prime, the planetary government huddled in their underground bunkers as human ships maintained orbital superiority. The aliens who had celebrated humanity's extinction now faced the very real possibility of their own. "They could bombard us from orbit," said the first speaker of the Galactic Council. "Why aren't they attacking the planet itself?" "Because they're not like us," replied the military advisor. "They're not trying to commit genocide, they're making a point." The point was clear to anyone with eyes to see. Humanity had returned from apparent extinction with technology and tactics that made them unstoppable. The species that the hegemony had dismissed as primitive mammals had become the most dangerous force in the galaxy. Admiral Webb received reports from all 17 attack fleets as Phase 1 of Operation Retribution concluded. Every primary target had been destroyed or captured. Hegemony command and control networks were in chaos. Their most powerful fleets had been annihilated without inflicting significant damage on human forces. "Phase 2 is authorized," he transmitted to all fleet commanders. "Begin economic warfare protocols. Show them what happens when you try to wipe out humanity." The first day of humanity's return to galactic prominence was ending in complete victory. The aliens who had tried to extinct them were learning that humans were far more dangerous as enemies than they had ever been as neighbors. The reckoning had only just begun. Before it was over, the galaxy would understand why humanity had been expanding into alien space in the first place. They weren't conquerors by nature, but when threatened with extinction, they became something far worse than any alien species had imagined possible. The age of hegemony dominance was ending. The age of human vengeance had begun. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session deep within the underground bunkers of Nexus Prime. The ornate chamber where they had once celebrated humanity's extinction was now a tomb-like refuge from the human fleet that controlled the space above their heads. First Speaker Velnash, a tall insectoid being with 6 arms and compound eyes, stood before the assembled representatives of the hegemony's member species. The translator implants in their heads struggled to keep pace with the panic-induced rapid speech patterns of dozens of different languages. "The situation reports from across our territory are catastrophic," Velnash began, his voice carrying the tremor of barely controlled fear. "In the past 72 hours we have lost 17 core systems, 43 military installations, and over 600 vessels. The humans are striking everywhere at once." A murmur of disbelief rippled through the assembled delegates. The Korthak representative, a massive bear-like creature with metallic fur, stood to speak. "How is this possible? Our intelligence confirmed complete human extinction 3 years ago. We saw their homeworld burn." "Clearly our intelligence was wrong," replied the Zilani counselor, Admiral Vextar's political superior. "The question now is what we do about it." In the space above Nexus Prime, Admiral Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the Humanity's Wrath, watching through the main viewer as his fleet maintained perfect formation around the planet. The gravity manipulation weapon was charged and ready, capable of turning the world below into cosmic debris with a single command. But that wasn't the plan. Genocide was what the aliens had tried to do to humanity. Webb had no intention of becoming what they were. "Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from 47 planetary governments," reported his communications officer. "They're requesting terms for negotiation." Webb's expression remained cold and impassive. "Ignore them. We're not here to negotiate, we're here to deliver a message." The message was being delivered across the galaxy as human fleets continued their systematic destruction of hegemony infrastructure. Phase 2 of Operation Retribution was economic warfare on a scale never before seen. Human ships struck at mining operations, manufacturing centers, trade routes, and financial networks with surgical precision. Captain Elena Rodriguez commanded the stealth cruiser Nemesis as it emerged from quantum tunnel space near the hegemony's primary shipbuilding facility. The massive orbital construction complex had been building vessels for the alien empire for over 2 centuries. In the next few hours, it would become a cloud of expanding debris. "All ships, commence attack pattern Delta," she ordered. "I want nothing left but atoms." The human squadron materialized around the shipyard like death itself. Antimatter torpedoes streaked through space, each one guided by quantum computers that could predict and counter any defensive measure. The alien workers had barely enough time to reach escape pods before their entire facility was consumed in nuclear fire. Dr. Sarah Chen monitored the cyber warfare campaign from her command center in the Kuiper Belt. Human quantum computers had completely infiltrated hegemony networks, allowing them to manipulate everything from stock markets to planetary defense grids. "The hegemony's economy is in free fall," she reported to Admiral Webb through encrypted quantum link. "We've crashed their currency, destroyed their supply chains, and bankrupted their major corporations. Some species are already talking about leaving the Alliance." "Good," Webb replied. "Fear and desperation make people reveal their true nature. We'll see which of them were true believers in human extinction, and which were just following orders." The psychological warfare was just as important as the military campaign. For 3 years, the galaxy had believed humanity was extinct. Now, they faced the impossible reality that the primitive mammals had returned with technology that made their own look like stone tools. On the bridge of a hegemony patrol ship fleeing the destruction of the Vega shipyards, Captain Zextal studied the sensor readings with growing horror. The human vessels moved through space like predators, their weapons cutting through hegemony defenses as if they didn't exist. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet," reported his communications officer. "Put it through," Zextal ordered, though he dreaded what he might hear. The voice that filled the bridge was calm, professional, and terrifyingly human. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Liberation Fleet. You participated in the bombardment of our homeworld 3 years ago. Your ship's records confirm your presence at Earth during the attempted genocide of our species." Zextal's blood ran cold. The humans had accessed their ship's computer and found the proof of his involvement in their extinction. "We are offering you one chance to surrender unconditionally," Chen continued. "Refuse and your ship will be destroyed with all hands. You have 30 seconds to decide." The alien captain looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They had celebrated humanity's destruction, believing they were ridding the galaxy of a dangerous species. Now that same species had returned to claim vengeance. "We surrender," Zextal transmitted, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. The systematic dismantling of the hegemony continued across dozens of star systems. Human forces struck with a coordination that seemed impossible given the vast distances involved. Quantum communication networks allowed them to operate as a single entity spread across the galaxy, while their stealth technology let them appear anywhere without warning. General Patricia Morrison coordinated the ground assault on the hegemony's primary intelligence facility. The base was built into a moon orbiting a gas giant, supposedly impregnable behind layers of defensive barriers. Human-powered armor made those defenses irrelevant. "Breaching charges set," reported Sergeant James Harrison over the tactical network. "Ready to penetrate the outer shell." "Detonate," Morrison ordered. The explosion tore through alien alloys like paper, opening a path for human soldiers in combat suits that incorporated the best of both species' technology. The aliens inside the facility had never faced an enemy like this. Humans who could move faster, hit harder, and think more creatively than anything they had encountered. Within 2 hours, the intelligence facility was in human hands, its databases downloaded, and its personnel captured. The information contained within those computers would reveal every secret the hegemony had tried to hide, including the true extent of their expansion plans. Dr. Elena Vasquez analyzed the captured intelligence from her laboratory in the asteroid belt. What she found confirmed humanity's worst suspicions about their former neighbors. They weren't just trying to stop our expansion, she reported to the command staff. They were planning to divide our territory among themselves. The attack on Earth was the first step in a larger campaign to claim all of human space. Admiral, Webb studied the documents with growing anger. The aliens hadn't just tried to commit genocide. They had planned to erase every trace that humanity had ever existed, claiming their worlds and resources as if humans had never been there. Any species that signed off on this plan gets the full treatment, Webb decided. No mercy, no negotiation, no second chances. The list was longer than expected. Over 60 species had formally approved the human extinction plan. Another 40 had provided material support. Only a handful of hegemony members had abstained or opposed the genocide. In the depths of space, the experimental vessel Humanity's Wrath approached its next target, the homeworld of the Zilani, the species that had led the campaign against humanity. Admiral Vextar's people were about to learn what their aggression had cost them. Gravity manipulation weapon is charged and ready, reported the weapons officer. Target, the Zilani moon. Planetary population, 200 million. Webb stood silently for a long moment, weighing the decision. The weapon could destroy the moon, sending debris raining down on the planet below and killing billions. It would be exactly the kind of overwhelming retaliation that would terrify other species into submission. Negative, he finally decided. We're not them. Target their orbital infrastructure instead. Military bases, shipyards, defense platforms. Leave the civilians alone. The gravity manipulator fired not at the moon itself but at the massive space stations orbiting it. One by one, they collapsed in on themselves before exploding in bursts of exotic radiation. The message was clear. Humanity had the power to destroy worlds, but chose not to use it. On the surface of the Zilani homeworld, billions of reptilian beings watched their orbital defenses die in flashes of impossible light. The species that had led the campaign against humanity now faced the very real possibility of their own extinction. Emergency broadcasts filled their communication networks as human ships took control of the system. But instead of the expected bombardment, they received a transmission that chilled them to their scales. "This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Human Liberation Fleet," the voice announced. "Your species led the campaign to exterminate mine. Your fleets bombarded our homeworld. Your admiral celebrated our supposed extinction." The transmission paused, letting the weight of those words sink in across the planet. "We could destroy you as you tried to destroy us," Webb continued. "But we are not you. Instead, you will live with the knowledge that you failed. You tried to wipe out humanity, and we survived. We grew stronger. We came back. Your empire is finished. Your fleets are destroyed. Your allies are abandoning you. And every day for the rest of your existence you will remember that you brought this upon yourselves." The psychological impact was devastating. Physical destruction would have been terrible but brief. This was worse. A lifetime of knowing they had failed, and that their victims had proven superior to them in every way that mattered. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated itself. Human fleets appeared without warning, destroyed military targets with impossible efficiency, and delivered the same message. "We remember what you did. We survived what you tried to do to us, and we are better than you." The hegemony began to collapse as member species abandoned the alliance that had led them to disaster. Some tried to negotiate separate peace treaties with humanity. Others simply withdrew their forces and closed their borders. A few attempted to flee to distant galaxies beyond human reach. Admiral Webb received the final report as Phase 3 of Operation Retribution concluded. The primary architects of human genocide were defeated, their military forces destroyed, their governments in chaos. The secondary participants were scattered and leaderless. The hegemony no longer existed as a functioning entity. "What are our orders for Phase 4, sir?" asked his operations officer. Webb looked out at the stars through the main viewer. Somewhere out there, Earth was healing. Human colonies were being rebuilt. The species was expanding again, this time with the hard-won knowledge of how dangerous the galaxy could be. "Phase 4 is rebuilding," he decided. We've proven our point. Now we build something better than what came before. The age of human mercy had died with Earth's first cities, burned away in the fires of orbital bombardment. But from those ashes had risen something more valuable: human wisdom. They had learned that survival required strength, that peace required the ability to wage war, and that sometimes the only way to prevent genocide was to demonstrate that you were capable of committing it yourself. The galaxy would never again mistake humanity for easy prey. The universe had tried to teach them that only the strong survived. They had learned the lesson well, and now they were the teachers. In the end, the aliens had been right about one thing: the old humanity was extinct. What had emerged from the ashes was something harder, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous. They had wanted to face a species that knew its place in the galactic order. Instead, they had created one that would define that order for themselves.